Bienvenidos to the Mexican Soccer Show. Liguilla time. Lots and lots to talk about. Nice little rhythm for everybody today on Monday Night Football, like we like to call it here. Use your hashtags. All of us that's there. Let's turn on the cameras and say hello to everybody. Mr. Tom Marshall in Guadalajara. How you liking this beat? What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, it's a bit different.
It's a bit different than what we usually started out with. That's ¿Qué le pasa? If you like to DJ Dust, found this song. I thought it was really great.
DJ Weasel over there.
Definitely not a DJ, but we're going to get started. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all Mexican football with the Liguilla happening starting this week. Mexico versus Honduras happened last week, so we'll analyze all of JCO's new two games. And here we go for 2016 starting qualifiers. And maybe we'll touch a little with Chicharito, that he's on fire, on a roll. Maybe that league is a little too short for him. Maybe he needs to be in the better leagues. I don't know. Naib Moran, how's it going in Mexico DF, sir? Any surprises on that Liguilla, first of all?
Oh, well, first of all, welcome back, Wiso. It's good seeing you. And also, saludos a Tom in Guadalajara. Yeah, I guess, you can say it's an odd Liguilla when you see Chiapas and Puebla in it. I think the thing with Chiapas is that they have Ricardo Antonio Lavolpe, who I think, it's a coach that has done several things in Liga MX that have been, different in a way. And then Puebla with Marini, these are two teams that basically have rosters full of players that are forgotten, are like the ones that no one wants in the draft. So, based on what we've seen, one of those two can be the surprises, Puebla basically has, with all of the Liguilla teams, the only teams Puebla lost against were Chiapas and Veracruz. And all of the other ones, Puebla got a win against those. And they even got an away win against Tigres and Monterrey. So
Interesting to see what happens, especially with the Liguilla. Naeem giving us a quick preview. Hopefully you can get it back on. But Mr. Tom Marshall, you ready for the Liguilla? Let's just go ahead and get started, man. Especially since, you're in Guadalajara, none of the teams made it to the Liguilla, as the popular ones. But Tom, first of all, before we go in, lots of traveling that you were doing, going to all the games, especially with Mexico now back and hanging out there in Guadalajara. But let's go ahead. Liguilla time, as you see on the monitor. Surprises. I'll ask you the same question. Surprises. Did you think at the start of the season these top 8 teams would be there?
No way. I mean, you look at Chiapas and Puebla and Veracruz for me, and you think it's an amazing. I think the managers have done really, really great jobs there, because you look at the other clubs that are not in there, and you look at the amount of money Cruz Azul spend on players and wages and bringing big names in, and you look how terribly they've been. The average attendance this season 15,000. I mean, just a disastrous season. You look at Chivas, another one of the big four, just nowhere near the playoffs in the end, and just ending the season on Sunday with a really disastrous 3-0 loss to Santos Laguna. Santos Laguna, the reigning champs, they're out as well. And then the big one for me is Monterrey. I mean, I wrote today that I think you could make an argument that player for player, Monterrey are the best team in the Liga MX. Certainly someone like Edwin Cardona. I mean, he's a top player, perhaps the best in the league with Gignac. But for them to be out, and the likes of Puebla and Chiapas and Veracruz to be in is for me a huge surprise. And I think they've basically got nothing to lose, those 3 teams. Nobody's expected anything from them. And Chiapas coming in with 4 consecutive wins. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll go ahead and get it. Obviously, the Liguilla talk going. Mexico versus Honduras last week. Also, we'll go into it a little bit towards the end of the show and see how much time we do have. But we have to definitely say hi to everybody that's on the chat today. There, the Mexican Soccer Show. If you're listening to us from a computer, if you're watching us, definitely go in to YouTube, into our page, and make sure to say hello. Ask us any questions that were there. We have a couple of people that are following And we'll be tweeting us out to Mr. Afrozander on Twitter, who does a great job of live tweeting the show. Definitely a big shout out to them. But let's go ahead, get started first on the Liguilla. As you can see up on the monitor, we have the cuartos de final. As we see, Tom mentioned it right away. Looking at Puebla, looking at the at Jaguares. What I have to say, dark horse, guys, Jaguares. I mean, if you look at, I kind of looked a little bit about who Jaguares has faced. They have the better record against these teams. If anyone out of all these teams has a better record, is Jaguares a dark horse, Naive, to win it all?
Well, to win it all, I don't know. I don't know if that's the appropriate phrase.
I mean, they're coming in with a good rhythm. They've been winning. Surprisingly, that's in there. Yes, you beat Tigres and La Volpe, Steve, going in there. If you return a La Volpe, something good happens from it.
Yeah, no, but also I think it's also Tuca Ferretti's year. If you see it from the perspective of Ferretti, of what he did with the national team, it was really unfortunate what happened in the Libertadores against River Plate. But I'd say Tigres has that those players, those key players that could be determinant in the Liguilla. And as always has been the case with Ferretti's teams, Tigres is the best defense coming into the Liguilla. So I think that's important to keep in mind, that defensive quality, and also the fact that they have players like Sobis, Dam, Gignac, and Aquino, for example.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. And then, Tom, to you, the dark horse of the playoffs here, the Liguilla, who many won't expect but could win.
I think any one of Veracruz, Chiapas, and Puebla. I mean, Chiapas had never won the league. Puebla in the first playoffs for 6 years. I mean, I mentioned before, they kind of sign new players every season. They're both owned by the same kind of holding company or family or whatever you want to call it, the Lopez Chagoy family. So, they're one of probably the worst run teams in the Liga MX as well. But I suppose on the flip side, you change your players so often every offseason, you must get it right, one of them, you know what I mean? So, I think those two, I think Veracruz, I think they were up there last season or the last couple of years. I think Veracruz can cause some upsets. I think they play a more direct style of football. I think it's rarely seen in the Liga MX that teams will will place in such a direct manner. So I think that's what Veracruz have got. Chiapas, I think they've got the home record is unbelievable. They're unbeaten at home all season. I think they've out of 8 games they've won 6 and drawn 2. And it's not a great place to go, Tuxtla Gutierrez. I mean, even though it's like hitting winter now, it's not easy to play there. So yeah, I think that's their strength. In Puebla, I think the people there are absolutely desperate. I mean, 6 years without even seeing a playoff game. I mean, the stadium's been redone, so I think there's a bit of a buzz around Puebla. Mm-hmm. And you've got a player like Alustiza, who's quality, and he's just got the kind of power, and he really lifts people in the team. So, and I think the other thing about Puebla and all these 3 teams is, really 3 good managers. I think Marini has been brilliant this season for Puebla. Really got a team, a fractured team maybe, and really got them playing together in I mean, it's not the most exciting style, but they're playing for each other. Chiapas and La Volpe, I mean, what a story that is. La Volpe back from
rise.
And then Reynoso over there at Veracruz, who, what is he? I think he's 70 now, and it's like, he's brought his players together. He's got a strong squad.
2 consecutive seasons in Liguilla for Veracruz, that's, I think, a first. And Veracruz was, a relegation zone team, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and talk about with each individual, the teams. We talked, dark horse, like to bring that up, that conversation. I'm still thinking Jaguares was going to surprise, but we'll talk about predictions in a little bit. Out of the 4, let's go ahead and start with I think the most attractive. I think maybe la palabra parejo, being that you don't know who could win because they could both, Naive and I were talking about this earlier today. Me being the León fan, they finally got a way to get in strong early, but looking at what's going to show up, let's talk about America and León. Probably because it's America, and at the same time looking to see what's the most attractive game out of, not that the other ones take it away from Pumas and Veracruz, but I think that this game, you saw an America in yesterday I mean, over the weekend, what I was telling Naive, what America is going to show up? Is it going to be the one in the first half? Well, I think an amazing game, or is it going to be the one where Pumas came back and it looked like America was flat? León is it going to show up? Because as a visitor, they're doing horrible. I think it's the worst visiting team that's in the Liguilla, but at the same time, 4 goals scored against them, but then they're very heavily at home. León ending at home, I think it's huge, but we have injuries. So I'll take it up to you, the experts. Start with Tom. When you're looking at this game, what are keys for America and for León, and ultimately, what we're looking at? I know there's some injuries in there, but how do you see this outlook going?
No, I think the injuries are massive. I mean, León, if you've not got Boselli, he's just been the top scorer of the season again. I mean, a top striker, and the one that really makes it tick, because when you talk about León, you talk about the midfield. Peña, Montes, Elias Hernandez is in there as well on the wing, and Gallito.
Burbano sometimes.
Burbano. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a strong midfield unit, but you need Boselli there to finish off the chances and to kind of like, to like the glue to keep it together. And so, yeah, if he's not there and Peña's not there, that is a huge blow for León and a massive plus for America. But America, last 5 games they've won 1. I mean, it's not going great for Nacho Ambriz. I don't think he's won over the Americanistas who were kind of against him coming in the first place. So I think there's a lot of pressure on America as well. The game early this season finished 3-0 to León. I agree with you though. I think this is going to be the best game. I think both teams are going to go at each other. I think León under Pizzi have basically stayed the same way as Matosas. No, just they keep attacking and they're vulnerable. But I think I put them ahead when I was doing my predictions. But I mean, Naive can tell us a bit more about Peña and Boselli's injury. I've not caught fully with it, but if those two aren't playing, then I think you put America favourite.
Of course. Even as a León fan, I would say Boselli is this huge loss as a goal scorer, leader of the torneo. I mean, it'd be amazing to see. And Naive, you and I were talking about this. It looks like maybe Boselli is more of a possibility of actually being at the game. But what can you tell us here in Mexico City? What are you hearing? From what I see is that there could be a possibility of him be there on Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Boselli came into the training today knowing about his injury, and the team was aware of it, and the team took the decision to rest him basically. With Gullit, it happened during the training. The injury that sort of, I think the injury that he has is basically the one that Carlos Vela had on the base of his foot, the fasciitis, plantar fasciitis, is something around that, and it's something that comes over. Sometimes it comes back. It leaves. It comes back. It's like a pattern. So I don't really know if that will, hurt Gullit's chances of playing. Let's not forget that León played Copa MX to the fullest. They reached the final, and that can play a little bit against them. They had a lot of games coming into this Liguilla as America, because they had the CONCACAF Champions League. But going back to this whole thing with Ambriz has never won a Liguilla game as a coach. He lost with San Luis.
No,
never. and also with Querétaro, he lost. I think both games with Querétaro against Caixinha Santos. So I mean, all the pressure's on him. And like you said, what has been the case is that America tends to give an incomplete game. Let's say good 65 minutes. Good 65 minutes, bad 30 minutes. The game against Toluca, which ended up as a win, a 3-2 win, an intrepid game that was. It was an incomplete performance as well. It was they had a great first half, but the second half was just horrid, and Toluca almost took a tie from that game in La Bombonera. So it's incomplete. It's a half-filled glass of water, basically.
No, definitely. Tom, I throw it out to you. America, 6th place, especially with the jumbling that goes around in the last, and obviously in the last weekend. But in 6th place has never won in the Liguilla. Obviously, we've seen all the other places, but as far as, they do have the clear advantage if Boselli's not there. What do you see on these two teams? And if they do end up losing against Leon, with what Nacho Ambriz and you've been saying, Americanistas not very happy, as they've been saying it, which takes a lot for them to be happy. But can we see some shuffling in the coaching aspect of it?
Yeah, I mean, without doubt. I mean, America, that's what they do. That's what they did with Mohamed. That's what they did with Matosas. And if not happy with Ambriz, then they'll change him. But I think the players as well. I think there's a lot on the line. I mean, we're hearing rumors about Ricky Alvarez, who's maybe there's reports that he's already had a medical there. We've seen Fabian Castillo from FC Dallas, who's we've heard in negotiations with America. So it looks like a lot of the players that are playing there right now could be on the move. So are they playing for the places? Are they going to be motivated by that? Are they going to be demotivated? I think it's up there for discussion. I mean, I'm not too sure how it's going to play out, but I think with America, Benedetto, I mean, I know he's had his injury problems this season, but I mean, if he turns up, this America side can overcome Leon and anybody else in this Liguilla. I mean, he's such a top player. I mean, he creates chances for himself out of nothing, which is the difference with someone like Boselli, who needs to be fed. So if Benedetto's on form and he's doing well and he's feeling good, then America got a good chance. But like I said, if Peña and Boselli aren't in the team, or if they are in the team and they're not 100% fit, then I'm going America. I mean, those two players alone, they've created, between them, it's 21 goals this season.
Yeah.
I mean, so you take away those 21 Leon goals, and you've just got it up now, and that's like 21 of 32. And you think, where are the other goals going to come from? I mean, back up for Leon, Miguel Sabá and Marco Bueno. I mean, to the different ends of the spectrum. I mean, Sabá's like 36 and Bueno's a young kid. So you worry about Leon if Boselli isn't there, no doubt about it.
And with America, what's interesting as well is will Oribe Peralta start? That's one of the things that this Pumas game sort of cost, because America looked pretty well with Arroyo, Quintero, Benedetto, and Sambueza leading the attack. And Peralta wasn't included there. And the thing with Peralta is that he hasn't had a great season. And like you were saying, Tom, I think you want the team to build around Benedetto because he's been your most effective forward in this current season. But also keep in mind, Peralta represents a lot for America with his short stint, with the goals that he scored. But that's one of the complications right now that Ambriz will have to face.
Yeah, and before him, Matosas had the same. He couldn't fit them all in, could he? I mean, there's so many attacking players, and it's like, how are you going to get that balance in the team? And if you can't get them all in, people are unhappy, then it unsettles the players. So I think that's the problem with America right now. I mean, they've not been able to nail that kind of chemistry within the team.
Interesting. On the chat, asking the question of who do you have, Leon or America? A lot of them, a lot of the guys, America should lose. They have been poor at home from Joel. Omar Santos, Leon will take that one. Omar Santos saying America players will lose it and get carded and stuff. Getting back at that type of player. So interesting to see, obviously split in that decision and what we're going for. But as the only lonely Leon fan on the internet, I'm hoping Boselli will be healthy, and I think it'll be a good game. But again, what America and what Leon are going to show, they're both. One of them's horrible at home, the other one's horrible as a visitor, so it cancels each other out. Leon has a little bit of advantage closing it out, but at the same time with that injury, we'll see what's going on. It's actually kind of funny talking to somebody at earlier today, who doesn't know a lot about Liga MX, and just asked me about the Liguilla. If they all play at their 100%, if you had to pick one team, who would it be? And it's kind of hard. It's a very hard question. If Leon plays 100% with Boselli in the midfield, I would see it. If America, the way that they've played, if Pumas, if Toluca, or Tigres, I mean, it's a very, if everyone plays at their potential, it's hard picking a winner. Agree?
Yeah, I'm going to go Leon, though. I'm going to go Leon. I think they've been playing better. I think the balance is better. That midfield, and I think they'll do everything to get Peña and Boselli. And America, there's just so many question marks that I think Leon have got the quality. I think what America really needed was, a Puebla or a Chiapas in this first round. to really get themselves going. I mean, I think Leon's just about got enough to get past him, and closing at the Estadio Leon. He finished 3-0 early this season. So Leon have got, I don't know, I think they've just got a little bit more than America right now.
And a little bit of history, Leon and America. It feels like ever since we've, as a Leon fan, I've been in the Liguilla or anything since 99, 2000. It's always got to go through America somehow. So we'll see what's happening.
I mean, but I think from looking at it from the perspective from America, they've also been a good visiting side. You know, I think that loss against Leon was one of the worst ones they had in the season. And then also, you know, the fact that here that what is kind of complicated for America as well is that the Club World Cup is just days away. So they have to deal with 2 tournaments at the same time, basically. And it's hard, you know, because Nacho Ambriz hasn't shown anything as a coach. You know, it's a bag full of surprises, basically. It could be all bad surprises, but let's keep in mind it was Ricardo Peláez who brought him to America because he's a great friend of his. So I mean, this is something that Peláez really has his job on the line as well, because if it goes all bad, then we don't know what will happen with Peláez maybe starting next year.
Interesting to see. I mean, we're excited to see what. Let's go ahead and move on with the. I would say the next, probably the game that everyone's looking forward to. Also, if Pumas can really do it, Pumas Veracruz. Tom is talking about Veracruz. You know, being that surprise and whether they're coming in, but Pumas. I think since, you know, from a while back we've been saying, is this really happening? Is this the Pumas that we want? But I haven't seen the Pumas like this in years. Tom, take it away. Analysis, and then obviously look at to see what players and a prediction on what you have in these 2 teams, in the way that they have obviously going.
Yeah, I think you got to put Pumas' favor. Obviously, the home record's amazing. They've been playing well. I mean, you know, the Liga MX is such a league with so little difference between the best and the worst teams compared to, you know, La Liga or something. So for Pumas to get 35 points and score 37 goals or whatever, I mean, that's as close to domination of a league I think as you get in Mexico. It's very rare that you get that many points. So yeah, they're on form. I think the key has been the balance up front. I think it's really nicely set up, and you know, Sosa on one of the wings and then Fidel Martinez on the other. Really like the difficult to defend, and I think that's been the absolute key, especially Sosa. I mean, 10 goals from 17 games. I think Eduardo Herrera provides the focal point up front. You've got Britos, who's like a little busybody, like running, so much, you know, a lot of energy from Britos. So, you know, so I think with them 4, I mean, I think you've always got a chance against any team, and I think the key is that they're in form. I mean, Pumas are in form. There's a lot of confidence there. You know, obviously the support there in Seoul is, you know, when they do get behind the team, it's there's few places in Mexico like it. So, yeah, I think you have to say Pumas. I think I've enjoyed watching Pumas for the first time in a few years. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, sometimes those midday kickoffs and you're just like, oh man. You know, they've just not provided the best entertainment. But I've got to hold my hands up. I didn't expect it from Pumas, but, you know, fair play to them. They're really good side to watch these days.
Now you were at the Azteca. I think it was 90,000 people, right? America versus Pumas is just full. I mean,
yeah, and there was a loud crowd from Pumas. You know, the whole section.
It would start right, and then
Goya was there.
Chancellor would come on and try to shut him up, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was a great game, that one, the America Pumas.
Great game.
Because,
yeah.
You know, it was a Liguilla flared game, basically. It's a good appetizer to what's coming in the next days. And what Tom was saying, I think it's been impressive, those 4, but also been impressive the fact that Pumas actually now has El Tri players. Castro, you know, he didn't get minutes, but he's there. And Fuentes, who played against El Salvador. So that kind of tells you a little bit of the balance that Guillermo Vázquez Jr. has brought back to the team. Darío Verón is a great captain. Then you got José Carlos Van Rankin, who is a U23 player, and Potro Gutierrez's national team. So it's a good mesh there. And for example, Javier Cortés, you know, he started sort of like a right wing back, and now he's a central defensive midfielder. So he kind of evolved as a player with Guillermo Vázquez Jr. And let's not forget, Javier Cortés actually won the gold medal with El Tri in 2012, so he was part of that team. So it's a good mesh of players. I mean, it can play. One of the things that I was talking this morning with some friends who are Pumas fanatics, followers basically, is that they can play both. They can play the game with the ball, with possession game, and they can also play the counter. But I do believe that they're better when they have the possession of the ball because they distribute it from one wing to the other with Sosa and Fidel. And when they play on the counter, the only players that showcase their talents are Fidel and Sosa. And the ones that sort of get lost are Herrera and Britos because not that many balls come to them.
So both would agree, Pumas, heavy favorites.
Yeah, I think Van Rankin as well is a player to definitely watch. I mean, he's been in the Mexico youth national teams and, he really seems to be breaking out this season. He really seems to have matured, and I wouldn't be surprised if the full national team call-up is around the corner. I mean, he's one of the few young Mexican players in this Liguilla he should keep an eye on. I think Jordan Silva over there in Toluca is another, and obviously Jurgen Damm with Tigres, but there's not that many. But Van Rankin is definitely one to keep a close eye on. Yeah. Pumas
should take this, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's good for them to take it. I mean, they've been done so well. It'd be something else if Pumas lose, especially after they won this season, right?
Yeah, no. I think the other thing Veracruz are a decent team, and they're a big team, and that Peñalba is massive, and he controls the midfield, and you've got Forge up front who's deadly. And if they get the balls into him and he gets a couple of yards and they can do damage. I mean, they're there for a reason. I worry about Meliton in goal. I mean, I think he's on his day he can be outstanding and he can keep you in the game. But I always when I'm watching, I'm like, he's just going to make a mistake at some point. I just think there's always a mistake around the corner for Meliton. And I know he got called up for the national team, but I don't see how he's national team material. But yeah, I mean, I think Veracruz, let's give him credit where credit's due. Like Naib said, 2 consecutive Liguillas. Carlos Reynoso has obviously had a difficult time with his personal life, with his family. I think his son passed away, and after that he came back into coaching, and he's done an absolutely brilliant job. And I think him now at the age he's at, he'll be thinking, and he'll be telling his players, listen, we've got absolutely nothing to lose. We're going against Pumas, one of the big teams in Mexico. They're beatable. It's not like Pumas are totally amazing. I mean, yeah, they're a good side, but Veracruz will be, I think, just thinking, right, let everybody talk about Pumas. We're going to go there and we're going to make this absolutely as difficult as we can, and let's test Pumas. We know that Maldición of the super leader, no? I mean, let's test them, let's put pressure on them and see what happens there.
Interesting. I think it would be a huge upset, like we were talking about, especially with Pumas losing. But let's switch and keep going on our cuartos de final special. Not to say the least attractive of the team, but I think the ones that I would have to say would be, if you have to miss out and you have to pick one, maybe a Puebla Toluca. Not anything against the fans, but Toluca and Puebla coming in after that tie, securing its spot, and Toluca, who, I have to say, in Liguilla could turn out to be the team, but at the same time hasn't given that last punch toward the end. Naive, Toluca, Puebla, the people want from Puebla finally getting that, but will they get it and see the surprise, or will it be Toluca, which is the heavy favorite in my opinion? I think we might. Naive, Tom.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess we'll go to you.
Yeah, I mean, Toluca have been up there for so long, it seems like. And I think for Cardoso, he needs a final. I mean, I think 2017 is the club's centenary, and he needs a final, I think, Cardoso now. He's been up thereabouts. I'm not saying they have to win the thing, to win the Apertura, but, I think they've had quite a bit of consistency over the last couple of years in terms of playing stuff, and I think now's got to be the time. I think key player for Toluca is obviously Talavera. For me, like I've said before here, best goalkeeper in the league. kept him in so many games, and then Bottinelli in the kind of playmakers role is enjoying a good season. And then up front, I mean, I think I don't want to keep repeating talking about strikers, but then in this Liguilla, if there's one theme to look out for is the quality of the attacking players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was working out today some stats about goals to game average in the Liga MX, and there's over 3 goals a game this season, and that compares. It's way more than all the rest of the leagues. MLS, Bundesliga, Premier League, La Liga. It's a lot higher. So, and you look at Toluca and you think, Uribe, the Colombian, and Triverio from Argentina, and you think those two, the way they play and the amount of goals they're scoring, they've got a very, very good chance, not just of overcoming Puebla, but of winning the whole thing. I mean, I wouldn't put them as favourites, but I think that it wouldn't surprise me if Toluca win the Liguilla.
Yeah, it's odd because we've seen Toluca there after year after year after year, and it just when will they make it finally? And for some reason, even though they have that attractive, it's a very solid team, and what he's doing, you're right. We just haven't seen him make that step actually winning in a while. And every year they could be it. Every year they're like, watch out for Toluca, very, very strong at the Bombonera, but at the same time, it just never ends up happening. Losing by not like they get killed during the Liguilla, and León did it. I can never put my hand on the fact that Toluca is going to win. And
you wouldn't bet on them.
I wouldn't. It's just I'm like, yeah, they're going to be tough.
Yeah,
they're going to be tough. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like there's more power, but we'll see. Naib, hopefully there you are back.
Am I in?
Yeah, there you are. You're back.
Okay.
You're back in. Seeing that Toluca being the favorite, Puebla, new stadium, they want the people finally back in there. Toluca, the heavy favorite, but again, your thoughts on having, obviously Toluca number 2 of the team, and look at we've seen the 2. We've seen them lead, but they can't get to that last hump of actually getting to it.
Yeah. No. First of all, sorry for the technical difficulties from my side. I know that kind of, it's funny in the show. It's not the best, but pardon me. I did hear everything that you said, what Tom said about the forwards, Uribe and Triverio. I think Triverio has been doing phenomenal in the last weeks. He's been scoring goals in bunches. I think like 6 in the last games or so. So that's a forward to keep an eye on. The thing, I think this is Cardoso's big chance. He has the great forwards that sort of assimilate his style. Because I see Triverio and I remember Cardoso when he was in his playing days. So this is a great opportunity for Toluca to go all the way. And I think they're a really good home team. But now on the other side is Puebla, who I think has been really consistent in the season. The biggest loss they had was 3-1 against Morelia, and all the other losses they've had in the season have been just by 1 goal, 1-0, 2-1. So they've been really, really close. It's a team that is really tactically smart. With players like Jovi Bermudez, Pata Araujo, who came from Chivas, and he's playing as a center back in Puebla actually, and he's doing pretty well. Campestrini, I think you can say that Campestrini was the best signing this season. Yeah. Because a lot of points that Puebla has gotten has been because of that experienced goalkeeper that they brought from Argentina. So it's a team that generates this sense of curiosity because they beat Tigres, they beat Toluca, they beat America, they beat León, they beat Pumas in the season. So it makes you think, well, they might have a shot.
Yeah. I think with Puebla, I look at the team and I think, how have they got anywhere near the playoffs? I mean, honestly. I'll admit, it's like, we know.
I still don't give them credit till they pass Toluca. I'm sorry, I can't. Look at the team they have.
I mean, you look at Jovi Bermudez is a good player.
Hobbit.
And then Pato Araujo. And these are players who have been basically booted out of other teams and kind of placed in Puebla. David Toledo, who couldn't get a game at Chivas, who's 33 years old, and he's a good holding midfielder, uses the ball well, but you're not thinking, players like that are going to be, taking on the Liguilla and doing well, and then up front like Flavio Santos, who basically was allowed to leave Atlas a couple of years ago. Luis Gabriel Rey, who left America. And you think these are all players that have come from other places because they weren't starting. And I think you have to look at the manager. I mean, I don't believe that the ownership have kind of planned all this out and kind of Moneyball. Yeah, these players are going to work here and there. I don't believe it. I don't think Puebla. I don't think Puebla have that foresight. I mean, history has told us. Maybe I'm wrong, but history has told us that every 6 months, Puebla just changed the whole team. So I don't think we can look at that. I think we can look at Marini, who I think is just such a shrewd manager. I mean, the way he got that 0-0 draw on Friday against Querétaro in probably the worst game of the season. Yeah. I mean, it was really difficult to watch. I mean, it was awful. But they held in there and they got the result, and the players went crazy at the end. And I think there's a great team spirit within the Puebla camp, and I think Marini is going to make the team very, very difficult to beat. And again, it's one of those where the pressure's on Cardoso. Puebla have already had a great season. Whatever happens on Thursday and Sunday, Cardoso needs to reach that final.
Very true. I think it's exciting to see Puebla coming in. I like how you said the Puebla ball, money ball. Oh gosh. We'll see what the obviously on the chats already skipping this game, and I think that's how everybody is. Toluca, Puebla, I'll be interested to see. But going into Tigres, probably they should win the whole thing. From Albert Campa, one of our regular watchers in the scene. So let's go ahead and talk about Tigres. We talked a little bit about the La Volpe coming back. It would be huge if La Volpe wins this game, somehow beats Tuca Ferretti. But just like Naib said, it's Tuca's year to win it all with the squad, Gignac. I mean, just the way they've been playing the Libertadores, it should be an easy Tigres win. But I'm telling you, I saw Chiapas against all these teams. They have the better record against León, América, Pumas, Veracruz, Puebla, Toluca. There's no other one that's had more victories against these teams, and the dark horse is there. La Volpe will come back, even though I'm not a big La Volpe fan. But it'll be interesting to see how the defensive games that we're gonna see, but on what happens, especially a Tigres who should, I think, in my opinion, should win the whole thing. But to you, Naib, what do you see this team playing, and if can Tigres learn a little bit of what happened in the Libertadores and not capitalizing first in the first game to try to close it out? But what do you think?
Yeah. Actually, one of the games that stood out to me it just happened several weeks ago, was the Tigres Veracruz, and I was really struck by Javier Aquino's game and how determined he was with the assist, with even scoring a goal, which is not common from Aquino. And I think he's a player that could be the key in this series, and then for Tigres throughout the Liguilla. We're talking about a guy that was in Europe several months ago, came back to Mexico, and has done excellent with Tuca Ferretti. Of course, all the attention is revolved or around Gignac and Sobis, because of what Gignac represents. A player from France coming to Mexico doesn't happen often, or it's just once in a lifetime kind of deal. But that's what's interesting here with knowing. I think the idea that Tigres has is solid. We know how they play. The players know pretty well. Ayala, the midfield with Arevalo and Pizarro. Pizarro has been excellent in the season throughout. It's a really solid team. And I remember talking with Tom here in the F, and he was like, the lineup by heart already. You know who's gonna play. With Chiapas, it's this development story. I mean, they got Silvio Romero, who has been phenomenal. This foreign, I think, Argentinian, right? And also Áviles Hurtado, who has been mentioned by Juan Carlos Osorio in Colombian radio. He is one of the players that, if he starts to shine right now, then he'll probably get a call for the national team, because he represents a player that is not common in Mexico. I mean, you do have your Tecatito, your Dam, and everything, but there's not that many forwards in Liga MX and Mexican forwards at the moment. So Áviles Hurtado is a player to keep an eye on for Chiapas.
Yeah, and also Silvio Romero, that's the Argentine striker. I think it's 10 goals this season. And you look at him, he's actually another player who recently has come from France. I think he played in Rennes. I think after that he went back to Lanús and then on to Chiapas. But it's pretty interesting because there's been some quotes from Romero I think came out today or yesterday, and he said he wants to go. He wants to play for River Plate. He's like, I want to leave. Chiapas is like, they're going. The economic situation isn't good. I mean, this is on the eve of like big game, and so I don't know. Is that going to make him play better? I mean, maybe he'll be like, I need to score a few goals here. So, but I think he's an important player for Chiapas. But I don't understand Chiapas this season. I'm not going to lie. I'm still trying to get my head around it because you look at La Volpe, and I don't think he's the most popular manager. I don't think he's the type of manager that players are kind of talking about and saying, "Oh, La Volpe is a genius." Like he's
you don't see his hand.
Really turned it around.
Like you don't see the wins because of him.
No, but fair play to him. I mean, they finished fourth. I mean, they didn't sneak in.
And they're the only team that got a win at Seu.
Yes,
so that's something to keep an eye on.
That's what I'm saying. They can play these teams. La Volpe, man.
No, definitely, and playing down there in Tuxtla Gutierrez is massive. I mean, it really is an important advantage for him. But yeah, it's another team. I think Chiapas that just thrown together. I mean, you look at the names that are there, and you're like, they've been around the block. They've been around the many other teams. I think the other thing with Chiapas is, I think like Romero, I think a lot of the players want to get in the playoffs. They want to make an impact so that eventually they can get a bigger move. I mean, honestly, I think that's a thing. But you look at the likes of Luis Venegas, who was at Chivas, Paredes, who's been around, like Araujo, Fausto Araujo, who's there, and there's a lot of players that I think you see, and they've played in other clubs and they've not really settled, and now they're at Chiapas, and I don't know. I don't see how they're gonna advance against Tigres, but let's be honest. I don't know how they're in the Liguilla anyways. So I've already been shocked by him. Well, yeah, no, but I think Tigres. The only thing that worries me about Tigres from advancing and winning and getting to the final is away goals. I mean, I think that there's a frustration. Well, there is for me when I watch Tigres, and Ferretti is obviously a very good manager, but I always feel frustrated when I'm watching Tigres because they don't risk. They don't take any risks. They play this percentage football where they're the most possession-based team in the league. I mean, you look at the stats; they're always number one in terms of possession. But it's not always the most exciting possession. It's not like Barcelona. It's sideways passing. Wait for the opening up front before playing the ball. And I think it's been very difficult for Gignac, which I think is, the fact he scored, was it 11 goals? 11. It was 11. The fact he's got 11 goals, I think is good because he's not in a team that's kind of like, throwing in balls into the area. It's a team that really likes to cuidar la pelota. I mean, it looks after the ball. It likes to recycle the play, one wing, the other wing, like get the ball to Aquino, to Dam. But then if there's not an opportunity, then come back and start again. So, but I think that's the frustrating thing. Sometimes they go up, Tigres, and it's rare, if you look at the games, that they go out and beat a team 3-4-0. And I think when you're playing Liguilla, sometimes you need that, and I can just see him like kind of, drawing 0-0 against Chiapas at like in the Universitario. Chiapas play really well, and then or 1-1. You know what I mean? Chiapas sneak a goal, and then they draw 0-0. I mean, the other thing is every team that plays Tigres, and this might be different with La Volpe and Chiapas, but every team that plays Tigres now sits back. They make it as difficult as they can because they know the quality that Tigres has. Tigres has better quality than every other Liga MX team in that final third. I mean, Aquino and Dam just can do you serious damage. Gignac, obviously, his record speaks for himself. Midfield, they're very good. Guido Pizarro has been really, really good this season. Arevalo is obviously there. I mean, this is a top team. I think because of that, other teams are just like, right, we're going to give them absolutely as little space as possible. So, I think they can be caught, and it wouldn't surprise me if they go out at some point on away goals, but, we'll see.
Tigres has the best team in the continent, player by player, I think, but
I think they make a good argument. I mean, the Argentine teams and the Brazilian teams, there's some strong ones there as well, and sometimes I don't get the dynamic between Mexican football and kind of Argentine football because it's just stuff like the Atlas striker Burgesio.
Mm-hmm.
He's just been a disaster. I mean, he's really been a disaster. I think he's tried really hard and stuff, but now he's being linked with, like, I think it's River or Boca. And it's like
You can always go back to River Boca.
how can you go from Atlas and being absolutely crap to go to River or Boca? I just don't get it. Then Romero's being linked with River now, and it's like he's not even the best strikers in the league. You know what I mean? But yeah, they'll go there and then they'll play Mexican teams in the Libertadores and they'll win.
Exactly. Exactly.
Nada más vienen a robar.
No sense.
Vienen a robar. Vienen a robar.
Well, we got 10 more minutes going into this Liga MX, preview Liguilla. So just to kind of end things, Tom and Naib, looking at it, so we'll go as the team together and let's see if we can find a consensus. Pumas, correct, is obviously going through. And then the Toluca going through.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No questions there. Where we have a little bit of questions, León América. I'm gonna go with León. I just have to be the only supporter. Naive got America. That all depends on that, obviously. And then Tom, you said León, but you kind of questioned to see on the injury, right?
Yeah, but I'm going for León. I think. Yeah.
I like it, Tom. I like it. And then 4, I'll go ahead and pick Chiapas as the big upset dark horse to do that. I see Tigres, but for you guys, Tigres. And definitely we'll see. So we'll see who is right. I think everybody has picked Tigres to go through, but I'm gonna go with my dark horse story. Let's go ahead and talk. We have 10 more minutes to just a little bit about El Tri. Obviously the Tuesday game last week, Honduras is Mexico, where Tom got the opportunity to go to Honduras, San Pedro Sula. I know we were talking back and forth. A great experience. You go out a lot, right? You were outside mingling and talking to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite a funny story actually. I probably shouldn't tell it, but I will.
Do what?
Because obviously, I was with ESPN, but they didn't kind of know I was going. So they had like Borghetti and all the big names, and Rafa Fuente and all them, and like I just turned up, and they were asking, and anyway, they worked out that I was with ESPN, but they had like heavy security, them guys, and I was just gonna get a taxi. I was like. So I was, go on.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how much they're hated, and you kind of distance yourself because when I would travel with them, and I know some of the Rafa Ramos and them, or even John Sutcliffe, you get stuff thrown at you, man. Like I'm like, all right, I gotta stay away from these guys because what they said. David Faltesin shows up in Central America, man, and
no, he can't go.
Never goes.
He can't go.
Hopefully. We'll never be hated like that and be respectful. But we don't have that much time in trying to give our thoughts. Kind of overall in both of the games, a very weak El Salvador. I mean, just a horrible El Salvador. We're able to, ganar, golear, maybe not gustar, but it happened. And then an Honduras team where probably one of the worst Honduras, and everybody said in the last 20 years. I mean, no big names in what they were doing. But winning in San Pedro Sula hasn't happened in 50 years. Last time we won, and then also I think the '93 was the last time we won, which I think it was in Tegucigalpa. So a big win overall, obviously the good wins to get those 6 points. I still would like to see a little more from Juan Carlos Osorio. I feel like I don't see his hand there as far as the movements that came in, mostly only individuales from the players and just from Guardado's goal, Tecatitos, Golazo, Jürgen Damm's. El atrevimiento to do that in a game, I thought that was amazing. So great job from the team. But I feel like if anybody else, having the team, if it's Tuca or Piojo, I didn't see that hand. I saw a little bit of Juan Carlos Osorio trying out, the formations. It didn't work. I don't think it worked. Layun on the right, Vela on that side. So I think the team has a lot to work. But to say the least, those 6 points are huge to start off the qualifiers. Tom?
I disagree. Completely. Yeah. I think we definitely saw his hand, and I think I liked what I saw. And obviously you get the results and you get a lot of praise, and there are going to be times where he's going to make some crazy changes and nobody's going to understand, and they're going to lose, and then he's going to get absolutely slammed with criticism. But I thought against El Salvador, the fact, I think we talked about it with Naib over there in Mexico City, but the fact he basically played with 4 up front really gave El Salvador absolutely nothing.
What I'm saying is that
Well, they won.
when El Tri was playing well, I didn't see his hand. It was Piojo, it was Tuca, it was going back to the 5-9-5, and I saw individuales. He tried to do something, but it didn't work.
But five
I think it
training
went well.
sessions.
It should have been 6-7-0.
True. No, I'll give you that, Naib.
Yeah,
Don't get me
5
wrong.
training
Five
sessions.
training sessions. I'm not saying that this guy failed. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And then
Wow.
I think in Honduras, I think the fact that he changed the formation, played 5 at the back, I thought it was an absolute key to victory. I mean, I really think they frustrated Honduras, and being in the stadium, I think the fans were just getting, after 30 minutes, they were like, Honduras are not creating absolutely anything. They're not creating any kind of
One
threat.
shot.
And I think the Mexican side kind of conserved a bit of energy because of that. I think they just kept it a lot more solid than they have done in the past there, and they were intelligent. And then I think that the substitutions were perfect. I mean, 30 minutes left against a tired Honduran defense, who, like you mentioned, we saw, doesn't have the most quality like before. You got Figueroa, who's aging now, and I think that those substitutions obviously made the impact. I mean, I think the fact they came on against a really tired team and Mexico took the chances, and that was it, and it was a 100% deserved victory. I think that's the key. Even Mexico would have come 0-0 in that game. You're like, Mexico, I think you have to emphasize, again, just from being there, it is so difficult to play there. I mean, it really is. It's not a kind of exaggeration when people talk about it. I mean, the humidity is intense. The atmosphere is intense. The grass is awful. I mean, not in terms of being bumpy, but it's just long. It kind of saps the energy out of your feet. You step on the grass and half your foot goes down. The grass covers your foot. It's like the grass you put in your garden. It's like, not the one you use on the football pitch. It's really hard.
Yeah, and one of the things that impressed me, and I think it's important for Osorio and his, I don't know how long it will last. Hopefully it lasts all the way to Russia. But the fact that he got the support from Guardado, because he used Guardado a lot, because in both pressers before the game, it was Guardado who sat beside him, and the fact that he sort of showcased this, he was just amazing as a captain in Mexico and in Honduras, and I think that was one of the cool things about these games in November.
I mean, did you guys hear? I mean, and obviously I wasn't there, but Osorio coming out, and this is what I have. Chicharito might not start, having 2 different squads, and then the team going, I don't think we should do that. Guardado stepping in, or those kind of rumors that came in. But did you kind of hear anything about that during camp or anything like that? Because I knew it was coming out 2 days before that, where he's going to have 2 different squads. Like, even wasn't going to play, Chicharito wasn't going to play, and it looked like the teams got together, and Guardado kind of was like, no, this is what we need to do. Or is that just kind of more
I think the players convinced Osorio. I think someone like Chicharito convinced him, and I think Chicharito played, if I'm not mistaken, like an hour in each game. So I think they kind of arranged it like that, you know what I mean? And then Guardado, I think, would have been like, look, I really want to play. So yeah, I mean, the impression that I get from Osorio, I'm a big fan personally. I think he's exactly what Mexican football needs. I'm not saying him personally, but that kind of manager. I think he's exactly what.
I like that correction.
He's like, you look at the journalists and you listen to him after the press conference and stuff, and he's challenging them, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They really don't. They don't know what to write. They don't know how to go about, because his answers are so direct but I think it's going to be like always in Mexican football, it's just really volatile with Osorio. I think when he does that things like against Honduras and they go there and win, 50 years without a victory in San Pedro Sula, he gets the win. He's a genius because he changed the formation, he saved players to bring on as subs in the end, impact substitutions. But I think from what I've heard about from the press and stuff like that, I mean, he's going to make some decisions and Mexico are going to lose games and they're going to tear him apart. Why? Because he's the opposite of Herrera. Herrera was a journalist's kind of best friend because he gave you everything, every press conference. Osorio actually wants to talk about football. Like, you can ask him about his decisions and why he played one player, and he'll explain to you. But he's not going to get involved in kind of like
the
slamming
drama.
This guy. Yeah, the telenovela.
Do you think? There's a question I throw out to you guys. The days of a constant 11 starting, and we've seen that in world football now. In national teams, kind of keeping but changing the rotations to who they're about to play. I feel like Osorio is trying to do a lot more where we're going to play the U.S. and we're going to play this way, this style, and then we're going to find a way to to move it in if we're playing El Salvador, not necessarily instead of having the same 11 to get that chemistry. Naive, do you see that more Juan Carlos Osorio? I mean, the red pen, blue pen type of player where he takes situations in games and everyone needs to adapt towards that game and that team.
Yeah. I think it's normal. Every opponent is different, you know. So from that basis, he forms his lineup, you know. And one of the things that happened during this November period, basically, is that there were injuries. You know, Aguilar got injured, Torres Nilo got injured, Esquivel. So actually, that changed a lot of the plans, and he still succeeded because Torres Nilo was going to start in San Pedro Sula, and he converted Osvaldo Alanis as a left back, and he hadn't played left back since his Tecos days, basically, Alanis, when he was starting his career as a rookie. And it worked, you know, you can say, because over here in Mexico, it's like, estaba loco como empezó a 4 centrales contra Honduras. Like, why did he play with 4 center backs against Honduras? But it was part of the strategy. Honduras didn't attack. And Jorge Luis Pinto, before the game, was, I prepared this game for 4 months, and we're ready, and blah, blah, blah. He did a lot of blah, 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 and he looked awful. He didn't even spoke in the stadium after the game because he was embarrassed. He spoke in the hotel where he felt comforted, and he was basically with Honduras press. He didn't want to see Mexican press because he was going to get, smashed for talking stuff before the game.
Yeah, and one of the things that Osorio also said, he said he had 7 players in his team who were good in the air, and he said that Honduras' main threat is in the air. So that's why he played the 4 centre back. So he's taking care of the game, and I think he's great. I mean, the other thing that I really like is that we're not getting teams leaked. Honestly, I feel.
Everybody was wrong.
I put a team out there, and that was what we saw in training.
Yeah.
And you get it right, you get it wrong. But what I've really not liked about this Mexican national team over the last couple of years, I know Herrera personally gave it out, and that's fine. That's his view as a coach. But the fact that somebody within the national, maybe players, maybe someone in the backroom staff, might be the manager himself, was giving the team out to journalists on the eve of the match is a disgrace. I mean, it absolutely is a disgrace, and it's for me that's a sackable offence because it's completely disrespecting the players, the workmates, and the fans because it wouldn't happen in other national teams, and I'm glad Osorio's kind of keeping that to himself now, and I think it's I just think it's a good change. It's a positive for Mexico that he's doing it. My other question, or my other comment, is that I still don't think he's going to last.
Yeah.
I really don't. After I've said all that praising him, and I don't think he's going to last. I really don't.
But Tom, I think if he gets results like what he got in Honduras, he shuts a lot of people up. And a lot of coaches in Mexico know that the result is what gives you life. Herrera said it. All of the young Mexican football coaches you interview, like for example Tiburon Sanchez, who's in Mineros, he told me, the result is what keeps you alive. That's what kept Ricardo Antonio Lavolpe alive. Had he done a horrible Confederations Cup in Germany in 2005, he probably would have been out, and someone else would have come in. But he got the results.
Let's calm down, though. I mean, this is the first start of the qualifier.
Yeah.
This is the Chepo went undefeated. This is Caminando con Copos. It's a very different game. The first round that we started, I think this is already the 3rd round. But as to the Hex, this round, these guys need to win at home and win away, get as many points. You go to the Hex with 14 points. As long as you win at home and tie a 3 games, you're in. So this is the easy part for him to figure it out. I'm with you, Tom. I don't see him lasting. It's just I would love it if he did. But I like the fact that he's trying out new things. And I know a lot of people have said, you don't do the national team. He didn't have any games with all the injuries. I don't like the Gustar part that I'm not seeing that, but he got the win. You got to give credit to a team that wins in San Pedro Sula. You got to give credit to the no score, and I see the fact that if you're in Europe, it doesn't matter. The Gio, even though people don't like it, for him to already come in his first convocatoria and not have Gio there for whatever reason, it takes some, we'll say it, and I like the type of manager he is. Not quite sure when it comes into the hex, when there's that pressure and those movements, trying out. Hopefully he gets out all the kinks of Layun on the right, because we all saw that Vela was wasted. Layun was wasted in that game. I mean, it was just. I hope that he just gets it all out and finally sees it and uses that that blue pen instead of the red pen.
Yeah, and I think right now there's somewhat of an instability with the players, because Chicharito's actually playing every week now. This is not a Chicharito that was the star bench player from Manchester United and Real Madrid. This is a guy that's playing every single minute with Leverkusen, and he's becoming a key player. That wasn't happening in 2013. There was no such thing as a Miguel Layún that is getting all the attention in Portugal right now as a left back and getting goals and assists. There wasn't a Tecatito Corona. There wasn't a Jurgen Damm that would come into a match and change it because he was like, all right, I'm going to try this play right here in the area and I'm going to score. Reyes is playing. Guardado's playing in PSV. Hector. So if the players click and they like Osorio's way of directing, then there's a chance to see something positive. Because I think we're just tormented because of how horrible the hexagonal was, and I understand that. But
almost every hexagonal. I mean, hexagonal has been horrible since I can remember. I think.
Yeah, since Goran Eriksson.
Before, I mean, even the other hexagonal, if you remember that, 2002 with the Aztecaso. So, I mean, it's just a different type of game. We'll see where it goes. Big break. I know we're running a little long here, but I feel like the February, I'm sure January or February, will be some friendlies in there in the U.S. Possibly, and then before that March. So, in fact, I'm kind of seeing where hopefully there's going to be some news in the next couple of weeks coming out from the federation of what games already got scheduled. Colombia has been rumored, which makes sense. Colombia, or something like that. So it'd be interesting to see, but I'm satisfied. I don't want to be. I'm not 100% satisfied. I'm not like, oh, Juan Carlos is sort of exactly what we need, like I'm with Tom. So I'll disagree with that. I think we couldn't find anybody, and Juan Carlos Osorio was just there, but we kind of settled. But at the same time, it'll be interesting to see what he can bring. It's true. I'm still mad at the fact, but you got to get over it. It's like somebody breaks up with you. You gotta have some closure in the fact that the FAMF.
Speaking from experience.
I guess a little bit. Heartbroken a lot. But we'll see where it goes. And in the 2016. The national team and a new era for Carlos Osorio. Hopefully, we'll have a verde by next year. Adidas will come out, so we'll have fun with the jerseys. But before we end the show, any last other news? First, before we end it, I want to say thank you to Cesar, who hosted the show the last 3 weeks. Did an amazing job. It's great to have someone that I know if I can't go and find vacation, you can jump on at a moment's notice. So Cesar, I know you'll be listening probably at 2, 3 in the morning after you're done with your other commitments, and you'll be listening in your car or in your apartment. Thank you so much for taking over, and all of you guys obviously that are watching for keeping out here with the Mexican Soccer Show. But guys, any last words? Chicharito shutting everybody up. He's not just the luckiest player in the world, but really scoring 2 more goals. I woke up totally late. I mean, I slept in on Sunday, and I just look at Twitter and I see 2 more goals and the game's still going. I'm like, this guy's unstoppable. He shuts everybody up. But Naib, any last words?
Yeah, well, let's keep an eye on FC Porto because they haven't lost an official game since April. You keep that in mind. The last loss was against Bayern Munich. Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich. So it's been going good. Achach is not getting minutes as we wished.
Yeah.
But they're there. They're part of the team. They're training there every day, and they're fundamental. PSV visits Manchester United on Wednesday. That should be interesting to see. After what happened in the first game over there in Eindhoven, and we'll see if Chicharito continues his scoring streak, as you said, Wiso.
Yeah, big, huge, historic. Ties or beats Hugo Sanchez for consecutive weeks game scoring. I think either ties. Not sure if it actually beats. But Mr. Tom Marshall, last words. Liguilla, national team, anything, man. You have the floor.
Yeah, just trying to get out of my depression really from once again no Guadalajara teams being in the playoffs. The other thing was I was like looking at the the under-20s. I was like, must be a couple of games on. You know what I mean?
But
must be a couple of games I can just go down to and have a look.
forever
Under
Copa
20s.
MX.
Yeah. Under 20s, neither of the Guadalajara teams win the playoffs. They're like under 17s and like Atlas are in. That's it. That's the sum of all the football action in Guadalajara over the next couple of weeks. So yeah. So maybe I'll see if I can make a trip to Monterrey or even go to your hometown.
Yeah,
Lisa.
it's 2.5 hours. The best bus ride. Wi-Fi. It's great. $22.
Yeah.
I took that.
Let's go, man. Let's book a flight. Let's
Oh,
go.
nice.
Get a couple of tickets.
We did it. No Wi-Fi at Leon though. Oh my goodness.
No, that's the thing with covering Leon. It's like you don't have any internet in the press box. The press box is actually just in the stand. You don't have any power connector for your your laptop thing. So it's like, I don't know, I'd love to go, but then I'm like, what's the point?
You can do that at home. You got to do the Hugo Sanchez watches. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much to everybody on the chat. Mario D, Antonio Ortiz, Salvador Mares, welcome back. Alex M, Steve Graff from FoodMech Source on the chat. Lots of people. Joel, the usuals that are there. Lots of fun on the chat. Thank you to Mr. Afro Xander on Twitter. Definitely follow him. He does an amazing job live tweeting. And thank you to all who are listening to us, not only tonight on Monday Night Football, but also during the week. I know there's a lot of you that watch it on iTunes. Listen to it on iTunes, and we are definitely getting lots of followers. If you haven't subscribed to the channel on YouTube, definitely do so. We'll give you guys all of the updates. And obviously, the Mexican Soccer Show on Facebook and on Twitter. You get all of the articles that Tom, Naive, Cesar, Jason, Johnny Rico, and I. FoodMech Source, so you can get completely updated on everything that's happening with Mexican football, Mexican soccer, the national team, and at Liga MX. So we should be exciting games on Wednesday. It's going to be a great week. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, go ahead and get some pavo somewhere and get that. But there's going to be lots and lots of games from Wednesday, Thursday, and then the Saturday and Sunday showdown, guys. It's been great. I'm glad I'm back after a long vacation. Can't wait to talk about who is in the semifinals of the Liga MX. Talk to you all later. Naeem. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.